There's no betrayal in anime history that hurts us as much as Walter C. Dornez at the end of the Hellsing saga. I mean, most of us literally saw this man as a mentor and a voice of reason in Hellsing's dark universe. However, when push comes to shove, this elegant butler is the first to abandon ship. It's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment that Walter decided that he'd turn against the Hellsing organization, but fret not. We're here to do that for you. But to genuinely understand the true motivation behind Walter's betrayal, we'll first have to dive deep into both his anatomy and history. So that's exactly what this marvelous video is all about. Before we move on though, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It's a small click for you, but to us it means an awful lot. With that out of the way, I guess it's time to jump right in. Who is Walter C. Dornez? In a world filled with monsters and vampires, it's kind of rare for a human to gain as notorious a reputation as Walter has. Nicknamed Shinigami or the Angel of Death, he's definitely one of the most recognizable characters from the show. The Butler began the series as one of its most trustworthy figures, someone who was always there to support our heroes no matter how bad things got. Walter has been the Hellsing family butler for quite some time now, and over the years, he's grown from a cocky teenager into a cold 69-year-old. He was first taken into the Hellsing organization by Integra's father, and since then, he's served as both a servant and an assassin for the prestigious house. He's based on the character Mr. Ridgway, who made an appearance in Kota Hirano's earlier works and was voiced by veteran voice actor Motomo Kiyokawa in both anime adaptations. Due to Walter's skill as an assassin and his loyalty towards the Great House, he quickly rose through the ranks at the Hellsing organization until he was made the family's retainer. But as we all know by now, all of that would change pretty soon. What makes Walter's appearance memorable? As one of the oldest employees of the Hellsing organization, Walter's appearance has changed quite a lot over the years. In the flashbacks, a teenage Walter is depicted as a lean and short individual with a longish face. Back then, he used to sport a black wolf cut styled with long sideburns around his ears. I guess the man just has the style quotient thing figured out since the beginning. In the manga, Walter is said to have considerably tanned skin. However, this was changed to pale white in the anime. During this time, Walter wore a white shirt under his black vest and trousers, along with a pair of fingerless gloves. By the time we get to the beginning of the Hellsing storyline, Walter is already 69 years old. Though he seems to be taller than when he was a teenager, he's still one of the shortest characters in the story. He still retains his pale white skin, but his face clearly bears all the markers of advanced age, like wrinkles and folds. His face also seems to have grown longer, while his eyes are significantly more droopy than they were during his early years. His stunning jet black hair also seems to be fading away as he grows more bald by the day, causing him to slick it back and tie it down. During the attack on London, when we finally learn of Walter's tragic betrayal and his sudden transformation into an artificial vampire, the old man undergoes a startling change. His body is restored back to its physical prime, which makes him considerably taller and leaner. His droopy eyes become much sharper, and a menacing glare begins to manifest. The hair is still tied to his back, but many strands frame his face haphazardly, indicating that even his hairline has been restored. In this form, he also forgoes his usual black attire and is instead dressed in a dark magenta shirt with a purple vest. He also begins to carry accessories like a monocle and chains around his waist. Though we hate the guy with all our hearts, you can't deny that the Angel of Death really knows how to dress up. How did Walter's personality evolve over time? When we first meet Walter in the Hellsing storyline, he appears to be the only well-adjusted individual in this dark and horrifying world. However, we eventually learn that he wasn't always this way, and it was only after a lifetime of fighting vampires that he eventually calmed down. Back in his prime, Walter was an overly aggressive and confident fighter who wasn't above taunting his opponents, even in the heat of battle. Walter seemed to be completely in love with fighting and was almost sadistic in his pursuit of victory, even when facing opponents on the brink of defeat. Still, he managed to gain better control over his emotions as he aged and became a textbook English butler, dutiful, intelligent, and brooding like an Alfred from an alternate universe. Anyways, he soon became Integra's primary servant, often entertaining the director with a dry sense of humor and a merciless outlook towards her enemies. His sadistic tendencies also seem to have mellowed out, as he now fights with cold precision rather than psychic glee. Over the course of the series, we're also led to believe that the old butler holds a great deal of pride in being human, but as you can probably tell by now, that's all a giant hoax. After his transformation into an artificial vampire at the hands of Millennium, he exhibits a never-before-seen disdain for humanity, even proclaiming that it was only after the transformation that he had truly become the Angel of Death. Though he becomes a largely unsympathetic douchebag by the end of Hellsing, he still can't deny that there are some shades of gray to his character. What powers and weapons does Walter use? As a regular human being fighting vampires, Walter should have honestly died many years ago. But the Angel of Death is no ordinary human. To be honest, Walter might just be one of the most exceptional combatants in the entire series, able to take care of most supernatural foes with relative ease. During Millennium's first assault on Hellsing Mansion, we saw the Shinigami do his thing and easily take out a horde of terrifying ghouls with a few simple moves. Moreover, he was also able to easily take on artificial vampires and hold his own. In the prequel, Dawn, the young Walter proved to be way more powerful than a legion of specially trained Nazi soldiers, cutting them down without even breaking a sweat. During the violent encounter at Sir Penwood's military compound, Walter alone was enough to destroy an entire unit of artificial vampires and their automatic weapons without as much as a single step forward. I guess that nickname is finally beginning to make a whole lot of sense. Even as a human, Walter displays a host of exemplary physical attributes like peak human strength, superhuman speed, and even an almost supernatural level of durability. Over the years, he's performed feats like flooring the captain with a headbutt when he was just a kid, cutting through an entire squad of vampire soldiers in the blink of an eye, and even tanking multiple strikes from the fearsome captain. However, what makes Walter such a fearsome warrior is his exceptional accuracy, which allows him to use his monofilament wires with extreme ease. These wires are essentially Walter's primary weapons and function like malleable razors that the butler controls like extensions of his body. These wires are sharp enough to easily slice through steel and concrete like butter, and he can even use them to restrict and bind his opponents. Walter is a master at using these and can employ them as gently or violently as he desires. These wires allow Walter to attack his opponent from any angle and get to them much faster than his physical movements would allow. He's gained so much expertise in this form of combat that he can cause massive shifts in the wire's positions with the slightest movements. The scariest aspect of these wires is the fact that they can be used to control his opponents like living puppets. We first saw this ability after Walter's transformation, where he used his wires to control both Luke Valentine and Alucard's Baskerville like a marionette. All of Walter's abilities are enhanced even further as a vampire, granting him supernatural strength and speed that can match even Alucard's. Though Walter is capable of regeneration like most vampires, his hasty transformation causes his age to regress after every devastating hit. It's evident that, unlike true vampires, he's not really in control of his regeneration, which puts him at a disadvantage when fighting the creatures of the night. Are Walter's abilities wildly overhyped? Due to Walter's incredibly diverse and powerful skill set, he's often considered to be one of the most powerful characters in the series. Though he's truly an intimidating figure, we have to state that he's far from the strongest. For one, Walter himself realizes he'd never be able to beat Alucard in one-on-one combat, which was actually the cause of a lot of his internal angst. Based on this, we can also deduce that Walter would be unable to go up against other characters at Alucard's level, like Iscariot's human regenerator, Alexander Anderson, or Millennium's resident werewolf, the Captain. Though these characters will undoubtedly overwhelm the Angel of Death, it's also pretty possible that he could outsmart them using his understanding of paranormal creatures and years of combat experience. Still, that makes Walter the second most powerful combatant in the Hellsing organization, which is no small feat. What are the weapons made by Walter C. Dornez? Walter is also the Hellsing organization's foremost weapon expert and is considered to be responsible for many of their most powerful weapons. After losing some of his combat prowess due to his advanced age, he became a weapons manufacturer for the Hellsing family and designed the following. Number 1. Hellsing Arms Castle. The 454 Castle is a custom handgun designed by Walter to be used by none other than Hellsing's trump card, Alucard. A very large weapon, it stands at around 39 centimeters and houses the 454 Castle round, which was originally designed for hunting large game. For fighting vampires, the gun utilizes special bullets made from silver obtained from holy relics, making the weapon extremely devastating against the bloodsuckers. Number 2. Hellsing Combat Pistol Jackal. This weapon was assigned to Alucard after his first encounter with Alexander Anderson. Designed specifically to fight Iscariot's regenerator, the weapon has Jesus Christ in heaven engraved on its side. Though it stands 39 centimeters just like Castle, it weighs a whopping 16 kilograms as it's crafted from pure silver. Needless to say, no normal human could ever hope to wield this weapon. But fortunately, Alucard hasn't been human for many centuries. Number 3. Helsing Anti-Tank Cannon Harkonnen. Designed at the same time as the Jackal, this hulking beast is an oversized tank destroyer that can only be wielded by Cerys. Walter describes the gun as a perfect anti-tank weapon, capable of annihilating any targets both on land and in the air. During the siege of Helsing Manor, Walter instructs Cerys to fire the incendiary high-explosive rounds with VT Fuse, which are some of the most powerful bullets in the entire show. Number 4. Helsing Anti-Tank Cannon Harkonnen 2. The Harkonnen 2 is an upgrade that was designed specifically to handle siege-like situations. With an astounding weight of 345 kilograms, it sports a pair of badass 30mm cannons that were powerful enough to take out Millennium missiles from 4 kilometers away. For additional firepower, the cannon can also double up as a grenade launcher, which allowed our heroes to assert wide area field dominance during Zoran Blitz's invasion. Why did Walter betray the Helsing organization? Well, I guess we've arrived at the fateful question that sparked this entire video. Why the hell would someone as respectable as Walter betray his own? Though Walter's betrayal caught every single person at the Helsing organization off guard, Alucard was eventually able to deduce that the primary reason behind it was envy. Alucard realized that Walter's hunger for more power rose from the fact that he could never actually beat Alucard. His feelings grew more intense as he aged and began losing his own skills due to that, which made fulfilling his desire even more difficult. Keen on ending his life on his own terms without having to fade away evoked certain dark desires within the loyal butler. As his disdain at the idea of dying without defeating Alucard grew, he began leaning towards Millennium as they had the means to turn him into an artificial vampire. This becomes even more evident after Alucard's gruesome battle with Anderson, which leads to Walter disrespecting the priest for being so weak. All of his empathy and rationality left him. He began seeing humans as pathetic weaklings who deserved none of his respect. His disgust towards humanity's innate weakness and their inevitable death eventually led him to switch sides and become something much more despicable. Though all of Walter's decisions are thoroughly deplorable, they do come from something relatable that plagues all humans: the inevitability of time. What was Walter's relationship with Integra and Cerys? Despite his thoroughly heartbreaking betrayal, it becomes increasingly evident that Walter actually cared for Integra. He also seems to place a large amount of emphasis on a man's honor, even though he's committed pretty dishonorable actions along the way. His interactions with the vampire fledgling Cerys once again prove that he saw the Helsing organization as a family unit, even though he eventually betrayed it in order to fulfill his own secret desire. Even after his betrayal, when reminded by Alucard of the fact that he had now lost Integra and Cerys forever, the butler became visibly infuriated upon realizing that Alucard would now be the sole subject of their affection. After Alucard's apparent demise, Walter comes to the sad realization that his victory wasn't worth sacrificing his relationships. Even in his last moments, he thinks of Integra, realizing that it was the bonds that he severed that mattered to him the most. I guess anyone can be influenced by evil, no matter how good they originally were. Walter's tragic death serves as a cautionary tale about the mindless pursuit of power. Is he immortal? Though Walter's transformation into an artificial vampire grants him a slew of supernatural abilities, including regeneration, he's not really immortal in the true sense of the word. Though his transformation drastically increases his lifespan and even allows him to heal injuries, he's still susceptible to some specific attacks. For example, Walter can be killed by removing the cursed nail from his heart, which makes him vulnerable even though the task isn't really easy. Walter's regeneration is also severely compromised and takes a heavy toll on his body, causing his age to regress with every fatal blow. Since his transformation process was also somewhat hasty and incomplete during his battle with Alucard, the butler was also routinely coughing up blood during the entire encounter. In a strangely poetic way, it was his regenerative ability that became his weakest point. Walter C. Dornez. Key differences between the manga and anime adaptations. For most of this video, we've only concerned ourselves with the canon story that appears in the original manga and the Helsing Ultimate OVAs. However, since the original Helsing anime began airing before the manga was completed, Walter's arc in the series is significantly different. Though the character retains most of his defining characteristics, he never undergoes a dark change like in the manga. Not only does he never betray Helsing, but he remains loyal till the very end, almost dying to save Integra. Since he never joins up with Millennium, we can also assume that he doesn't harbor any negative feelings towards Alucard, and even shows genuine respect for the vampire during his final battle. Marvelous verdict. This analysis clearly proves that Walter is no normal villain. He's a hugely complex character with his own motivations who just gets too caught up with his failure to defeat Alucard. However, his desire to defeat death and remain immortal is undoubtedly something we can all relate to. But what do you think? Did Walter do the right thing? Let us know your thoughts on this complicated character in the comments down below. That's Wizard Wheezy signing off for this one, but don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with all our marvelous content. Unfortunately, that's all we got for this time, but don't worry, we'll catch you in the next one real soon.